What if I told you that the harder you chase her, the faster she runs, but the moment you stop, everything changes? After a breakup, it's tempting to reach out, to explain, to fight for her attention. It feels like action, but it's not strength, it's fear wearing a mask, and fear only pushes her further away. What if the very thing you think will bring her closer is what's keeping her distant? And what if the moment you let go, the dynamic flips, not because you gave up, but because you finally stepped into your power? Pulling back isn't weakness, it's clarity, and clarity is magnetic. You're standing at a turning point. You can keep chasing someone who's walking away, or you can become someone so grounded, so self-possessed, that they feel your absence more than they ever felt your presence. Now hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I master myself. I don't chase anyone. Let's begin. Number 1. You're built to lead. So stop asking for permission. Something deep inside you knows this already. You weren't born to follow. You weren't built to chase approval or beg for affection, but somewhere along the way, maybe through heartbreak, confusion, or cultural noise, you forgot. You stopped trusting your own direction and started looking to her for guidance. You waited for her to choose, to confirm, to validate, and in doing so you gave away the one thing that makes you a man, your center. Right now you may feel powerless, like no matter how hard you try, the connection drifts further away. But it's not because you're not enough. It's because you've stopped leading. You've become reactive, hesitant, unsure of your own worth. That's not what draws her in. That's what pushes her away. Because a man who doesn't trust himself forces her to carry the weight of both hearts, and no woman wants to mother the man she's supposed to follow. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology did. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire with this idea etched into his soul. You control your mind, not the world around you. And yet, here you are, letting a single person's attention dictate your peace, your confidence, your decisions. That's not leadership. That's submission in disguise. Being a leader isn't about dominating her or commanding obedience. It's about offering something stable, focused, unshakable. A lighthouse, not a floodlight. A man who knows where he's going and invites her to join, not one who constantly asks if he's enough to be chosen. Leadership is your natural state. It's the posture of purpose. And every time you choose stillness over panic, clarity over neediness, action over validation, you return to it. So what do you do now? You stop waiting for her to come around. You stop asking if she'll approve. You stop centering your emotional world around a woman who may or may not see your worth. You take that energy back and put it into your direction, your craft, your code. And from that foundation, everything changes. Not because she's finally convinced, but because you are. And here's the shift. When you lead, people follow. When you stand tall, others feel it. You don't have to say much. Your energy speaks first. Not because you demand attention, but because you don't need it. If you're ready to stop chasing and start walking your own path, speak from the place of command. I lead myself first. She can follow if she chooses. Number 2. You set the frame or you lose the game. You feel things slipping, but you can't quite name it. She's less engaged, less responsive, and more in control of the tempo. You're reacting instead of guiding. You're walking into a frame you didn't build, living in a rhythm you didn't choose, and slowly, you're becoming a bystander in your own relationship, watching it play out instead of directing its course. That's not strength. That's survival. Right now, your mistake isn't that you care, it's that you've surrendered the frame. You've handed her the reins and hoped she'd drive where you wanted to go. But that's not how it works. If you don't create the structure, the energy, the boundaries, she will. And when she does, you'll find yourself in a dynamic that feels unstable, unpredictable, and unbalanced. Not because she's manipulative, but because you've abdicated your role as the anchor. A man who doesn't lead the emotional tone of a relationship is forced to chase it, and in that chasing he loses her respect. Because what women respond to is not control, it's clarity. A sense that you know who you are, what you accept and what you don't. A frame that doesn't shift just because she's having a bad day or pulling away for attention. That stability is the true attraction. Not the flowers, not the texts, not the begging for her to open up, but the silent knowing that you won't fold just to keep her close. Stoicism teaches that we must govern ourselves before we can offer anything to others. Epictetus put it simply, no man is free who is not master of himself. And when you don't set a frame, when you let your emotional state be dictated by her mood, you become a slave to her approval. That's not love. That's dependence dressed up as devotion. So here's the shift. Instead of adjusting to her whims, return to your foundation. Get clear on your values. Speak with purpose. If something crosses your line, say so, not with anger, but with calm certainty. And if she pushes, hold steady, because the moment you bend just to keep her happy is the moment she starts losing faith in your ability to lead, not just her, but yourself. When you set the frame, you don't just regain control, you restore balance. She can relax, trust, and feel safe knowing that she's stepping into a story with direction, but you have to write it first. If you're done reacting and ready to reclaim your structure, anchor it here. I set the tone, I don't dance to hers. Number 3, don't fix her storm, stand through it. There's a part of you that wants to protect her, to soften the world when it gets too hard. So when she's moody, distant, emotional, you step in. You try to solve it. You say the right things, offer comfort, reassurance, support. And on the surface that feels noble, like the right thing to do. But deep down, you've started to notice something unsettling. The more you carry her emotions, the less she seems to respect you. The more you try to ease her storms, the more you disappear in them. That's not connection, it's erosion. Because when you make it your job to patch up every crack in her world, you're not being a man, you're being a shield. And shields break. Over time, she stops looking at you with desire and starts looking at you with expectation. Not because she's cruel, but because you taught her that you'll always absorb what she won't confront. You weren't built to be her emotional sponge, you were built to be a mirror, one that reflects truth, stability, and presence, not by fixing, but by standing firm. Stoicism teaches that strength isn't about controlling others' feelings, it's about mastering our own. And when you take on her chaos as if it's yours to clean up, you lose the very stillness that makes you strong. She doesn't need you to fix her. She needs to feel your depth when her world feels shallow. She needs to feel your steadiness when hers starts spinning, but that only happens when you stop jumping into her emotions like they're yours to swim through. Let her feel, let her struggle, let her have the space to wrestle with her own thoughts, knowing you'll be there, not as a savior, but as a solid presence that doesn't flinch. This doesn't mean you become cold, it means you become clear. You offer compassion, not correction. You offer space, not smothering, and in doing that, you give her the dignity to grow through her own pain. You stop rescuing her from the very discomfort that would have made her stronger. And the unexpected truth? That's when desire returns. Not when you shield her from life, but when you show her what a man looks like who refuses to be knocked off center. Because emotional strength isn't loud. It doesn't chase. It simply is. If you're ready to stop absorbing and start reflecting, speak it with conviction. I don't fix storms. I stay grounded through them. Number 4. Mystery breeds attraction. Stop giving it all away. You want her to know you, the real you. You think that if you're open, if you share everything, your thoughts, your past, your feelings, she'll see you clearly and feel more connected. But there's a catch. When you put everything on display, there's nothing left to discover. You become predictable, familiar, and familiarity, as comforting as it sounds, can smother desire. Right now, you may think being an open book shows how serious you are, that showing all your cards proves your commitment, but what it often does is take away the element of wonder. There's no more room for curiosity, for tension, for the slow dance of attraction. She already knows what you'll say before you say it, and that kills the spark. Not because she doesn't care, but because you've made it too easy to know you fully. Mystery isn't about being secretive or manipulative. It's about having depth. It's about having a life so rich and full that you don't feel the need to explain everything to her. Stoicism calls us to focus inward, to build a core that doesn't rely on constant affirmation or sharing. Marcus Aurelius never wrote about spilling every thought or feeling. Instead, he emphasized discipline, self-mastery, and the power of holding something back. Not out of fear, but out of respect for yourself. When you keep a part of yourself unknown, you create space for her to lean in, for her to wonder, for her to pursue you. That's the paradox. By sharing less, you become more intriguing. By not always answering right away, you make her want to hear more. It's not a game. It's allowing your life to be so full that she can't help but be drawn to the parts you haven't fully revealed. So stop explaining everything. Stop chasing the idea that if she knows every detail, she'll never leave. Instead, let her discover you in pieces. Let her experience you over time. Build a life that's rich with purpose, and let her curiosity be the bridge that keeps her coming closer, not because you demanded it. If you're ready to let curiosity do the work, speak it clearly, I live deeply, and let her wonder. Number 5, you're the prize, so stop running. You've been chasing her approval, adjusting your behavior, softening your edges, bending over backward to show her you're worth it. You've convinced yourself that if you just try harder, be sweeter or more accommodating, she'll see your value. But that's the fastest way to lose it. The moment you chase, you position her above you. You tell her through your actions that her attention is worth more than your dignity. Here's the hard truth. Attraction isn't born from effort. It's born from self-respect. A man who sees himself as the prize doesn't scramble for validation. He doesn't plead or prove. He stands firm in who he is, knowing that his value isn't determined by whether she chooses him or not. And that confidence is magnetic. It's not arrogance. It's assurance. The kind that comes from living in alignment with your principles, not her preferences. Stoicism reminds us that value is internal. Epictetus taught that our worth isn't tied to external things, whether that's wealth, status, or someone's approval. The moment you center your life around gaining her favor, you give her the keys to your peace. But when you ground yourself in something deeper, your purpose, your discipline, your integrity, you become unshakable. And that steadiness isn't just attractive, it's rare. If you're still running after her, stop. You're not a beggar, you're not an audition, you're a man with a mission. Shift your focus away from her attention and onto your growth. Build yourself into someone you admire, because when you do that, when you truly believe you're the prize, she will feel it, she will see it. And if she doesn't, you'll have already outgrown the need for her validation. And here's the shift. When you stop running toward her, you stop running away from yourself. Your energy no longer leaks into proving you're enough. Instead, it fuels the man you're becoming. And in that space, you create a gravity that pulls people toward you, not because you ask them to, but because they can't help it. If you're ready to live as the prize, speak it into existence. I am the prize. I don't run to be chosen. Number 6. Walking away isn't weakness, it's mastery. You've been taught that staying means strength, that commitment requires enduring anything to keep someone close. But what if the opposite is true? What if the greatest sign of self-respect isn't in staying, but in walking away when the balance tips too far? When the effort becomes lopsided, the respect one-sided, and the connection nothing more than a memory of what it used to be. Right now, you may feel that letting go would mean failure, that by leaving you admit defeat. But this isn't about winning or losing. It's about choosing yourself over a relationship that no longer honors who you are. Stoicism reminds us that true peace comes not from clinging to what we cannot control, but from releasing it. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life, and freedom begins when you're no longer afraid to walk away." By staying too long, out of fear, out of hope, out of habit, you risk eroding the very foundation of your self-respect. You become smaller, more hesitant, more dependent, and the longer you remain, the harder it becomes to recognize the person you used to be, someone who once moved through life with purpose, with clarity, with confidence. That man is still there, but he's buried under the weight of waiting. Walking away isn't about punishing her, it's about honoring yourself. It's not about giving up, it's about stepping up to the truth that you deserve a connection built on mutual respect, not on one-sided effort. And sometimes the only way to reset that dynamic is to remove yourself entirely, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with the quiet dignity of someone who knows their worth. Here's the shift. When you walk away, you reclaim your power. You remind yourself that your value doesn't come from someone else's presence. It comes from your ability to stand alone, to choose peace over chaos, to prioritize your growth over the comfort of familiarity. And in that decision you send a message, not just to her, but to yourself, that you will never settle for less than what aligns with your principles. If you're ready to let go and rise, say it clearly. I walk away, not out of fear, but out of respect for myself. Number 7. Your focus is the leverage that draws her in. You might think she wants all your attention, that if you just gave her every spare minute, every ounce of effort, she'd feel more loved and never stray. But that's not how attraction works. In fact, it's usually the opposite. The more you make her the center of your universe, the less gravitational pull you actually possess. Because the moment you stop pursuing your own goals, your own growth, your own dreams, you become small in her eyes. Someone whose entire existence orbits around her, rather than a man who stands on his own path. When a man loses himself in chasing a relationship, he forfeits the very quality that first sparked her desire: direction. Stoicism teaches us the power of self-mastery, the principle that our true freedom and strength arise from our commitment to what we can control. And the one thing we should always control, above all, is our focus. If you direct that focus exclusively on her, watching her every move, reading every signal, analyzing every text, you leave no space for your own purpose to breathe. But when you tether your energy to something larger than romance, your training, your career, your creative pursuits, you become a force. Not because you ignore her, but because you're no longer enslaved by the need for constant reassurance. A Stoic man knows his worth is forged in discipline and shaped by the challenges he confronts each day. He doesn't wait for a woman to approve of his choices. He moves forward with clarity, letting his actions speak for him. This doesn't mean you deny her presence or brush off her needs. It means you recognize that your life is an unfolding story where you are the protagonist, not a supporting character seeking applause. If she senses you've lost your spark, if you become a man who abandons his own growth for the sake of being perpetually available, she may enjoy the attention at first, but eventually it suffocates both of you. There's no intrigue left, no sense of forward momentum. So the key is balance. You give her respect, warmth, and genuine care, but you also keep investing in yourself. You cultivate skills, you push through personal barriers, and you aim for achievements that outlast any fleeting infatuation. In doing so, you show her a life worth joining, one filled with challenge, direction, and self-respect. That quietly demands respect in return. Over time, this focus isn't just about success or admiration, it's about becoming a man whose presence is anchored in genuine purpose. When a woman sees that you wake up each day driven by something deeper than her opinion, she can't help but feel a gravitational pull. Your focus becomes a flame that draws others in, not because you're desperate for attention, but because you simply don't need it to fuel you. If you're ready to harness the quiet power of self-directed energy, solidify it now. I devote my strength to my purpose. If she's drawn in, let it be by my fire. You began thinking that effort meant chasing, that love meant proving your worth, but now you know your worth was never up for negotiation, and walking away with dignity is what made you unforgettable. She didn't start craving you because you vanished, she craved you because you grew. If you're ready to become the man who attracts effortlessly, like this video, subscribe and comment, "I am unstoppable." Keep rising, keep refining, because the man who no longer chases becomes the man they all remember.